Hey everyone, Mark again from Granular. I wanted to show you how to create the event tracking within GA4. So obviously this is the biggest thing that might confuse people. GA4, regardless of the UI, regardless of the changes in reporting and reports available, event tracking, basic digital marketing relies on event tracking because you have conversions, and conversions, unless it's something like a page URL, it needs event tracking that comes from something like GTM. And with UA, Universal Analytics, your standard event tracking is really set up, as track type is event, the category. So with Universal Analytics event tracking, it comes down to these kind of tracking parameters set up in a category action label, so top-down level, and really that's how it's focused. And how you kind of create this, and when you create goals in GA, you map the event as it's in GTM with GA. You write the same category, the same action, and then GA kind of knows, okay, well, that event that's firing into Google Analytics matches what the person put as the category and action for their conversion. So that's a conversion. And like anything, you set your Google Analytics settings variable and you create your trigger. And much of this has changed within GA4. The whole naming convention of category action label is completely gone. It's wiped away. But in discussion with people regarding GA4 and kind of the semblances between GA4 and Universal Analytics, people kind of note, push your head away from this hierarchy. Get that out of your mind, because it's with GA4, it's not an issue, or it's not a thing anymore. It's gone. And you're really going to have to move on to the kind of the GA4 hierarchy of tracking. So, let's say that you have this form submit tag. You have website form submit, and then you have click text. Say, for some reason, different forms have different click text, or whatever reason you want to track the click text. There's different reasons why. You have that set up. You're tracking form conversions. You have your click URL. This is really basic, but click URL is like thank you, or contains thank you. So that when people hit that submit button, that the URL that they're being taken to ends in thank you, or has thank you in it. And that's a really kind of basic form submit or any type of kind of trigger. And with GA4, it's quite different. So you'll notice within here is that form submit, I have click text as a label. And we'll keep that in mind, because that's going to factor in how we create this GA4 tag. So with GA4 tags, you set it up in somewhat similar of a fashion where you set your data stream ID. Here is your measurement ID, kind of like what you do for your Universal Analytics ID. So really, you have to set that. And then within GA4, you have event names. So going back to GA4, they have the basic event names that are within their enhanced measurement that you can track. So these are kind of their predefined ones that they want you to fill into. So you might look at this and think, well, none of these really fit what I want. I don't see a form submit. None of these really fit what you necessarily want to track. You don't like any of these custom names. Well, that's great, because you don't actually have to use the custom names listed. Google kind of wants you to, but you don't necessarily have to. So let's say that you want to start creating an event in GA4 for that Universal Analytics tag that you have here, right? So the first thing that you have to do is create the actual tag, and you have to put in your GA4 tracking code, and then your event name. Like I said, Google wants you to pick these predefined event names, but you don't have to. And I'm going to actually just label it as form submit, because that's most useful for me. You could use something like file download, which would satisfy one of the predefined ones that GA4 sets for you. But I don't want that. I want form submit. So I'm going to set it as form submit. And you can do this. Like I said, you don't have to use the predefined ones. Whatever is most comfortable to you. So I'm going to do form submit, right? And then, perhaps you're thinking, well, hey, I really want to be able to see the click text. So I want to know the click text. So you can use the click text as a parameter name. Now with GA4, you'll notice that many of these are this kind of, I believe it to be, it's a certain type of case. So it's lowercase, and then you have the underscore between the words. So it's broken up like that. It might be snake case, but I don't remember. But it's broken up in by an underscore. And within this is really how you have to write a lot of the custom event parameters and custom event names to make sure that you don't break kind of the connection. And you'll notice that the parameter name includes that. So going back to this, I want to have click text as as a parameter that comes into my GA4 event, and that what you have to actually do with GA4 event parameters is that if you want it to be reported within your your actual reporting and not just your real-time reporting, you need to define it as a custom dimension or definition, excuse me. You have to sign it as a custom definition. So we're going to go, and you can see that I've already labeled it as click text. So dimension name, dimension parameters, click text. So I've created it. And parameter name here is click text. So the parameter name here is click text. Within here, it's click text. And that is to ensure that when I create this, that this parameter should pull in this field when I'm in reporting for events. So now I actually go into the events and I pick my event, which I don't have it since it's not been it's not been recorded, so it's not going to show up. But within this, you should be able to see, the events come through for a form submit, and then you should be able to break it down by the click text. Like I said, one of the ways you might know that you didn't set this up correctly is if you see a click text with the event in the real-time report, or if you're here, actually, excuse me. If you're here and you're at your event, there's going to be a real-time report, and you're going to be able to select your parameter, and it's going to show there, but it's not going to show in your reporting from a non-real-time kind of perspective. So remember that the click text has to be defined as a definition in GA4 for it to pull through data. So you could do this for page URL or page path, or click element, things like that. And you could define them as whatever you want, and they'll pull through, and you can separate the performance based on the parameter. You just have to define them, like I said, as custom definitions. So you have this set, right? You've set your we'll take these out. You've set your click text, and then you have your firing trigger. So your thank you trigger, just the same trigger that you use for your universal. And then I'm going to save here, and I'm actually going to save this, right? And then, I would preview, and this isn't live on the site, so I won't be able to preview, but you should preview. And then within your preview and debug bar, you should see in the debug panel, you should see this event fire if you clicked on the corresponding trigger and you activated the event. It should start to show in here, and you should be able to see within your events data come through. And you can go in here, and eventually when data starts to populate for that event, you'll see that come through. There'll be a bunch of just already enhanced measurement automatically tracked events, but you'll see the one that you custom defined as form submit. You'll see that. And then you'll see the data, number of events firing, the percentage change, and the users. And then you'll be able to see if it's marked as a conversion. There's a little toggle. And there you can click to have that be toggled on as a conversion. And then you'll be tracking that as a conversion, and you can see performance based on that conversion. So, this is on a really simple level. This isn't set up for e-commerce. My tutorial is not set up for e-commerce tracking, which requires a bit more. It's not set up for if you have 10 different tags that are all click tags off different interaction. This is purely off basic form submit tracking. It can get a little bit more intense when you are wanting to track a bunch of different click tags or click elements, or a bunch of different tags that are all based off a click. It can be a little bit different, but what you can do is set that click event, or that event, to be click, and then everything would pile into that actual click, and then you'd be able to add your event or your parameters for different things that you wanted to track. You want to see clicks across if it's login, or if it's they're clicking to view an article. You do click text, and you can just see where people are going on the site. So I hope this is useful. GA4 is obviously very different than Universal when it comes to a lot of this, but for setting up just a few basic conversions or events, it's not difficult. You just kind of have to retrace what you know about event tracking, and give it a shot. And if it doesn't work, go back and look and see how you've set it up. If the event parameters match and you've defined it as a custom definition, you should start seeing that. And as long as you correctly have the correct configuration tag, and you know that your trigger actually works, then you should be good to go. And off to the races with event tracking with GA4. And then you can see, like I said, the events, configure and conversions, and then events in here. All right. Hope that's useful, and I appreciate your time.